Well, I think Gomez's hunch that this was some sort of covert testing activity was bang on the money. From the way the cows were mutilated, from the organs that were removed from the cows, it seems very clear that this was some kind of covert testing, covert monitoring program of some kind of contamination in that region. It also seems very clear that someone is trying to put in some kind of linkage between this mutilation activity and UFOs, trying to dress helicopters up, for instance, to make them look like UFOs in an area where people are very superstitious, very fearful of things they don't understand. So it's clear to me that some kind of disinformation campaign is going on, but the reality is whatever was going on up there has nothing to do with extraterrestrials or UFOs.
In the alien encounters I have examined so far, military and defense technologies seem to be at the heart of what's going on. But parallel to these stories are other reports of more direct encounters between aliens and humans, which seem to be of a wholly different order. These are the chilling first-hand accounts of alien abduction. The most challenging aspect of the UFO phenomenon is alien abduction. Throughout the 80s and 90s, stories of abduction swept across the US. Over 2 million Americans claim to have been taken by aliens. These stories followed a pattern. Typically, abductees claimed they had been taken in their sleep to an alien craft, where they were subjected to invasive surgery. Samples were taken. Probes were implanted. Some victims reported they had been abducted not just once, but many times. I've come to meet Travis Walton. He was the first alien abductee of this epidemic, and his story, which was widely reported, had a powerful effect on the public imagination. I caught up with him near the Apache Sitgreaves Forest in Arizona, where the whole incident unfolded.
Well, there was a group of 7 of us men. We were working up in the mountains, in the woods. We had a tree cutting contract up there. And we just finished a long, hard day's work, and we were headed home. We'd worked late that night, so it was starting to get dark. And as we were driving down this rough track there, we saw light coming through the trees.
What the hell is that? Travis, man, what the hell are you doing? Come back! Travis!
Back then, you know, I was a kind of a wild sort of a guy. You know, I was showing off, you know. It was stupid. The closer I got, you know, and it wasn't going anywhere, and I was, you know, thinking about how foolish it was for me to be doing this, but I was kind of showing off for the crew a little bit, and they were getting pretty excited and yelling at me to get back in the truck. When I got up to it and I was standing there looking up at it, the sound suddenly got louder and it started to move, and it was making this sort of a rocking motion. And right at that instant, something hit me. Next thing I knew, I was regaining consciousness, but I was in a lot of pain. I saw these forms over me, and when I finally got it into focus, I could see this creature looking at me, and I just flipped out. I looked around, there was 3 of them. The one that was closest to me, I tried to hit him. I could hardly move, and my arm felt real heavy, and I was weak. Somehow got the strength to get off of the table.
Several nights later, Travis Walton reappeared, dazed and confused.
I didn't know how much time had gone by. There's something in the conversation, made that apparent to them. They said, "Hey, feel your face," and I felt, and I had this, week's growth of beard, and I was just totally shocked by this. They said, "You've been gone 5 days." I had enough trouble just dealing with the reality of this incredible thing that had happened to me. It was just so hard to explain what I'd been through, and there was nobody to relate to. And 29 years ago, that was turned to. It was just on my own.
Travis's story seems incredible, but it's only one of many such tales. Does the weight of evidence add up to a believable pattern of abduction? In order to understand the nature of the contact experience in the 1980s, we need to look at the first reported cases back in the 1950s.
They come here to commune with outer space.
We'll start the message now, group. Here we go. We are your friends. We are your friends. Please contact us.
Contactees were a group of people who claimed they'd been visited by human-like aliens from planets such as Venus and Saturn. Unlike Travis Walton's aliens, these visitors were reputed to be benign.
We are your friends.
Living in the shadow of the arms race, contactees preached peace towards all species, whether alien or terrestrial, and campaigned for disarmament. As Cold War paranoia reached its peak, the CIA ruthlessly misled the American people about UFOs in order to hide their surveillance programs against the Soviet Union. Melvin Goodman believes that the contactees were simply the victims of this dark political climate.
I wonder, in terms of a general disinformation campaign, whether if you plant a seed, basically from then on, there's nothing you can do to control it.
Well, that's the blowback principle. And certainly once you get involved in UFO sightings and trying to encourage the people of the Southwest that there were indeed UFO sightings and making people who may have been lunatics appear to be heroes, there's no telling when that will end, and there's no telling what kind of blowback will take place. And even the people who started this kind of mythology can end up believing their own myth because they start to hear this story played out over and over again.
Of course, disinformation is a factor behind tales of UFO sightings and alien contact. But I also think there's something else. Our need to believe. Anthropologist Charles Ziegler has studied many abductee testimonies.
These people were not mentally impaired. Many of them were, in fact, highly trained. They believed these things. It gave them the same kind of satisfaction that religion gives other people. The notion that we're not alone, that there is some entity that's looking after us, that there's a better place waiting for us when we die.
The chief skeptic of all, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who investigated UFOs for the US military, also became a believer. It was Hynek's interviews and expertise that formed the basis of the 1977 film, Close Encounters, directed by Steven Spielberg.